WQNA 88.3 The Edge in Springfield. And that was some Vinnie Moore in the Heading Garden of the Maze album. And before that, started the show off with the Haydn Symphony No. 88, the finale. That's Paul Gilbert off of the Get Out of My Yard album. Welcome to Spider Soup. My name is Dennis Daniel. Back. It's been a crazy few weeks. Missed a few shows, missed a few weeks. And but it looks like things have settled down. Hope everybody got through the Christmas and the New Year. It is 2013. Remember to write that instead of 2012. I've already made that mistake 7 or 8 times. It's early. And I know we all go through it. It's okay. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I hope everybody had a great New Year and a safe New Year. And I know I did. And a wonderful Christmas. Spent some time with family. And got out and about a little bit. So relaxed and ready for the new year. I'm going to move along here. Here's something from Kansas.
He knows the fear when I'm too
WQNA. That is Jeff Coleman, one of my favorite guitar players. That is off of his album Silence in the Corridor. The name of that song is Cosmo Ray Vaughn. And before that, reaching back for Smolder, Kansas, off the Point of No Return album, that's Lightning's Hand. That was featuring Robbie Steinhardt on vocals. Kind of a fun song. I think they all contributed writing that song instead of either just Walsh or Livgren and Walsh together. So it's one of the more unusual ones, because usually it's either Walsh or Livgren that wrote, or both of them together, and not much else. So anyway, here's some smoking live stuff from Jean-Luc Ponty. WQNA 88.3 The Edge in Springfield. That is Dave Martone. That is off of the album A Demon's Dream. The name of that song is What the Hell? And I detect some Alan Holdsworth influence in that song, listening to that. Some tone and some of the riffs he's pulling off there. Before that, some really good live Jean-Luc Ponty, Egocentric Molecules. I believe that's from about 1975 or so. Here's something from the Dregs.
Oh, it doesn't seem a year ago to this very day. You said, sorry, honey, if I don't change the pace, I can't face another day. And love lies bleeding in my hand. Oh, I killed me to think I was you with another man. I was playing rock and roll, you were just
WQNA, reaching back for an oldie there from Elton John off the Yellow Brick Road album. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road album, I should say. Love Lies, let's try this again. Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding. And that is absolutely one of my all-time favorites, especially in the headphones. It just sounds wonderful. And before that, The Dregs off of the industry standard album. That was Vitamin Q. WQNA 88.3 The Edge in Springfield, and that was, I should say, Fabrizio Leo. Welcome to the Mummies Museum. Off of his album, Mr. Malusardi. Or Malusardi, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Before that, Steve Hackett off of the Genesis Revisited 2 album. The most recent release, that was Please Don't Touch, which is actually a Steve Hackett song that he redid. There are some... I should say he did do some redo some Hackett songs along with all the Genesis stuff on there. That is a terrific album, by the way, if you haven't heard about it. Supper's Ready is on there. Dancing with a Moonlit Night. I think Back in New York City. There's a bunch of things he redid, and really, I think it sounds terrific. So if you like some of that older stuff and you want to hear some newer recordings, more modern, I should say. And he has good singers on everything except for one. I don't like the singer on Ripples, but otherwise, it's a really nice album. You are listening to Spider Soup. My name is Dennis Daniel. I will be here until 7 o'clock. Got a lot more coming up for you, including this one from Journey.
I keep holding on to
WQNA. That is Evanescence off of their most recent album, Never Go Back. The amazing Amy Leon vocals. And let me see, before that, we had some Journey. That's off of their most recent album, came out last year. Name of the album is Eclipse. And that was Edge of the Moment. Let's see here. Sorry, I was looking at my notes and lost track there for just a second. Here's something from Mr. Big.
Like cyanide, it gets by, but just for a while. How long can't you keep on chasing something wrong? Memories of how she could have made it. The waves are crashing down. Bloodshot eyes, just looking for another high. She lives by golden rules that don't apply. Life passed her by, I'll tell you why. How long can't you keep on chasing something wrong? Memories of how she could have made it. The waves are crashing down, she's caught in the undertow, drowning
bless thee and keep thee forever.
WQNA. That is Tarja off of the What Lies Beneath album, Dark Star. And then before that, Tarja's old band Nightwish, Bless the Child. That's off the Century's Child album. And started that set off with some Mr. Big off their most recent album, What If. And that was Undertow. Here's a hot one from Steve Vai off of his new album.
Well, who's that riding? Who's that riding? Who's that riding? Hey, book up the 7 fields.
and I'm wondering, I'm thinking out loud, this is the price to be proud. This my defiance, glossolalia. You picked this moment to blemish our land, the throats of the innocent cut on command. All for the blood money and skins that you rob. The vigilant will learn to play God. If purpose and purity are part of me now, this is the price to be proud. This my defiance.
Glossolalia. Steve Walsh exercising some demons on that one, man. That is Steve Walsh, Glossolalia, off the album of the same name. And before that, Steve Vai, off of his newest album, Story of Light. That was John the Revelator and Book of the Seven Seals. Let's see, here's something from Touchstone.
to the fragments of a crystalline dream. Big boy green with a smile on his face, ripping to shreds of silk and lace. A serpent smile with a casual hiss. Innocence died when it came to this black tide. Black tide. Nickel dog pines for his master's fate. Devastation lies by heaven's gates. A silhouette with a righteous grin. Knock on my door, I'll let you in. Black tide. Black tide. Flowers and bells on the light shells, aiming to please, stuck in their sleeves. Souls to sell, rocking those shells. Wind in the trees, men on their knees. Black tide, wash away the pain. Black tide, so
WQNA 88.3 The Edge in Springfield. That's Yngwie, Mr. Malmsteen, off the Rising Force album, Krakatoa. And before that, a band called Touchstone. The name of that song was Black Tide. The name of the album is... Trying to see my notes here. Where is it? Discordant Dreams. I was just typing that out and I just lost it. That happens. I guess I'm still recuperating from the New Year thing. Yeah. Because it is, it's 2013 now. I got to remember that 13 thing. And I try not to write 12 about 20 more times before I get it right. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. It's kind of iffy out there, I guess. At least some of the snow melted today. Nice to see that go away. And it looks like it's going to get into the 40s this week, so most of that snow will go away. Maybe, if we're really lucky. Here's something from the Steve Morse Band.
There is unrest in the forest, there is trouble with the trees. For the maples want more sunlight and the oaks ignore their pleas.
Trouble with the maples, and they're quite convinced they're right. They say the oaks are just too lofty, and they grab up all the light. But the oaks can't help their feelings if they like the way they're made. And they wonder why the maples can't be happy in their shade. There is trouble in the forest, and the creatures all have fled. As the maples scream oppression, and the oaks just shake their heads. So the maples form the union and demanded equal rights. The oaks are just too greedy. We will make them give us light. Now there's no more road oppression, for they passed the noble law. And the trees are all kept equal by hatchet, axe, and saw.
WQNA 88.3 The Edge in Springfield, and they get the little bird sounds in the background while I'm talking here. Rush, off of the Hemispheres album, The Trees. That's a nice story, isn't it? Ooh. And before that, Steve Morse Band, On the Pipe. That's off of his first album, The Introduction. Here's something from Peter Frampton.
relationship was cool. You played the role of having sense. I always played the fool. Now something's different. I don't know the reason why. Whenever we separate, I almost wanna cry. Oh no, please not that again. Love raised up its ugly head. And when I come home late, you don't complain or call. So as a consequence, I don't go out at all. My friends are frightened, they don't know what's going on. They think you put a spell on me and now my mind is gone. Oh no, please not that again. Love raised up its ugly head. Yeah, its ugly head. Love's not so bad, they say, but you never know where love is gonna go. Does anybody really know? Check this out. I'm standing at the altar as they play the wedding march. I'm in a black tuxedo with my collar full of stars. Oh, she looks as lovely as she's ever gonna get. I wake up from this nightmare in a pearl of sweat. Oh, no, 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 not that again. Yeah, I'm not going. Love raised up its ugly head. No, not me, no, 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 not me. Well, love raised up its ugly, ugly, ugly head. What you gonna do, Lord? What you gonna do when it comes and gets you? Oh.
WQNA, that's Living Color. Love rears its ugly head. It's off the Time's Up album. And dude, whoever's calling, call me back in like 2 minutes, okay? Before that, Pat Benatar, I Get Evil. And that is off the True Love album. And started that set off with some Peter Frampton. That is the Blues album. Excuse me, the name of the song is Blues, B-L-O-O-Z-E. And the name of the album is Fingerprints. And I do have some stupid people, crooks/stories this week. And I'm going to do birthdays before I get out of here today, too. So I don't have my glasses on, so this could be challenging. Let's see, start with this first one. Since embarking on a life of crime in Brooklyn, New York in 1985, Jack Mananino, 44, has been thwarted repeatedly and spent most of his adult life in prison. Quote, I never got away with anything, he stated while testifying in federal court after pleading guilty to bank robbery, and agreeing to testify against his former partner. The pair stole $5,600 or so and sped away in reverse in their car, blowing the transmission in a new Lexus only 2 blocks from the bank. They fled, but in addition to the car registered in his name, Mananino left behind his wallet containing his driver's license, credit cards, and other things. After hearing his testimony, the partner's attorney, Elizabeth Macedino commented, "You must be the worst criminal in the history of criminals." And dumbest one, too. Yes, sir. Okay, holiday follies. After the jumbo video screen at Regina's Mosaic Stadium, home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders Football Club, began displaying a burning Yule log, the fire department received frantic calls reporting a very bright flame and, in some cases, a smell of smoke. The log video was changed to a thank you message to fans. Rough Riders CEO Jim Thompson said, adding that before turning on the fireplace scene, someone jokingly said, "You know, I don't know about that Yule log, but someone is going to think the stadium is on fire." And sure as heck, someone thought the stadium was on fire. Yep, and it's a screen and a smelled smoke. Yeah, that's wow. Samsung disclosed this week that it subjects its smartphones to stress tests that involve sprinkling rain on them, pressing the home button 20,000 times, and using a robotic tush covered by pans to sit on the phones. That's how they test them. I like the word tush, don't you? This is kind of cool. NASA demonstrated a robotic exoskeleton that's worn over the legs with a harness that reaches up the back and around the shoulders like overalls. The 57-pound device is designed to help astronauts stay healthier in space by using it as an exercise machine to supply resistance against leg movement. As the technology advances, NASA said the exoskeleton could benefit astronauts working on the surface of other planets by improving their ability to walk in a reduced gravity environment. That sounds kind of cool, actually. But the big thing is getting these guys exercise in space and getting resistance, because the loss of bone density is pretty bad. That's why nobody stays up there really longer than a year, because when they get back, they can't really walk. Their bones have lost, I don't know, sometimes as much as half of their density, and you're about a foot longer because there's no not a foot, but probably 2 or 3 inches taller because there's no gravity, so you stretch out. So when you see those guys get off not in the shuttle anymore, but if they've been up there for a while and they get out of the Soyuz capsule now, and you see them put them on a stretcher, that's why they do it, because they can barely walk because they're not used to gravity, and it takes them a little while to get back on their feet again, if you will.
got me.
WQNA. A couple of hillbilly songs there. That was the Hillbillies from Outer Space. The Vaughan Brothers off the Family Style album. Before that, Bionic Hillbilly. Band name Hectic Watermelon. I love that name. Hectic Watermelon. That was off their album The Great American Road Trip. Let's go bananas.
Nothing to say today. I used my words up yesterday. I'm just lying here in the sun, watching you guys having fun. 7 days, 7 nights, working till you get it right. Me, I help myself. Yeah, I pulled some crackers off the shelf.
WQNA 88.3 The Edge in Springfield. That's some David Gilmour. Somebody asked me to play that again. I played it a couple weeks ago, and he's never heard that before. And so I decided to toss it out there. It's off his first album, first solo album, and that's Cry from the Street. And before that, title cut off of Deep Purple's album Bananas, obviously titled Bananas. So I got time to slip some birthday stuff in here, and let's get ready. I'm going to go back to just Tuesday, January 1st, was Paul Revere's birthday, 1735, and Betsy Ross, 1752. Hey, you don't think they had something going on, do you? Probably not. Chef Cat Chorus, 45. Don Novella, Father Guido Sarducci, 70 years old. Frank Langella, 75 years old, and one of the creepiest guys to ever work in government, J. Edgar Hoover. And now that we know the truth, God, if we'd have known it back then, would he have stuck around for so long? Anyway, Hoover was born in 1895. Wednesday, Cuba Gooding Jr. turned 45, T. Carreras 46, and Isaac Asimov, one of my favorite authors, was born in 1920. Thursday, J.R. Tolkien, 1892, Mel Gibson turned 57, John Paul Jones turned 67, and Stephen Stills is 68. Those guys are getting up there, man. Robert Loggia, I've never known how to say his name, or Logia, actor, 83. Victoria Principal, remember her? She's 63. George Martin, the fifth Beatle, 87. Bobby Hall, one of my hockey idols growing up, is 74. And Dabney Coleman, 81. Whatever happened to him? He just disappeared after like the 1980s. Let's see, Friday, Louis Braille, the guy that invented Braille, was born in 1809. Michael Stipe is 53. Matt Frewer, who I remember back in the 80s, is Max Headroom. 55 years old. Dave Foley, 50. Diane Cannon, getting up there a little bit now, 74. Let's see, John McLaughlin, 71. Let's see, today's birthday, Marilyn Manson is 44. Robert Duvall is 82. January Jones from Mad Men is 35. Diane Keaton is 67. And George Reeves, the original Superman, born in 1914. And then tomorrow, we got Rowan Atkinson, 57 years old. Sid Barrett, one of the original members of Pink Floyd, 1946. Joan of Arc, 1412. Bonnie Franklin, another one, remember her from One Day at a Time? She's 68. And the amazing Carl Sandburg was born in 1878.
There was a time when a man lived by his word, and the simple truth was not so hard to take. When his enemies were thousands of miles away, and he stood by the promises he'd made. Just like the air that we breathe in a single day.
WQNA 88.3 The Edge in Springfield. That is Bryan Adams, In the Heat of the Night, off the, I think the album is titled the same. Before that, Chickenfoot off Chickenfoot 3, Lighten Up. And before that, Damn Yankees, Someone to Believe. And I was a little hesitant to play some Damn Yankees. I've been a little hesitant to play anything with Ted in it right now because he's kind of pissed me off for a while, although he's had to stop. But threatening the president, man. You know, say his politics or any president's politics make you want to pull your hair out and talk about the policies and everything, but you don't threaten the president. I don't care who the president is. That's not cool. You don't do that, Ted. If you can't handle it, get out of the country. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. And my time appears to be up. So, having said that, moving right along. You have been listening to Spider Soup. My name is Dennis Daniel. Thank you for listening today. Thanks to those who called in. Appreciate it, and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. I forgot to say real quick, WQNA Radio is a service of the Communication and Media classes at the Capital Area Career Center, and we're all in here. We're all volunteers and just sharing the love and the fun. Please remember Spider Soup.